Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to Who's Your Daddy? I'm Pastor Christian. It's good to be able to invade your house and your homes, your hotel rooms once again this week. I hope, honestly, that you enjoyed last week's program and the week before that. We have had an incredible thing that has happened on this show in the last 3 weeks. And the shows that we had aired previously here on this same channel are now being aired. Those two shows, anyway, will soon be on the air in Nashville, Tennessee. New York City is one of them. Let me remember, a station in Boise, Idaho is going to air it. You know, several other different stations are looking into the idea. But on behalf of everybody involved, thank you very much from the bottom of my heart, because I know that that the issue that is at stake that we covered last week and the week before that, and of course this week and next, are very important, very paramount issues that need to be discussed, need to be talked about. And I wanted to get the best of the best, and to get people on set that knew what they were talking about, that are experts in the field. One of our guests, however, is sitting in the dark over there on the sidelines. Maybe next week we'll get him on set as he laughs about it. But anyway, today we've got a very special program dealing again with HIV and AIDS, as World AIDS Day is December
1st or 2nd.
The 1st, is that right? December 1st. Yeah. So we're going to, I don't want to use the term that we're going to be celebrating World AIDS Day in that way, but a day of absolute memory and a memorial, I guess, of those who have gone on from before us and those who are still with us, to remember them, to support them, to love them, and that. So I think that it would be good, I think, for everybody to be able to do that. So mark it on your calendar, December the 1st, World AIDS Day. Okay, let's introduce our guest all the way from over in the corner over there, Dennis Moyers. Everybody remembers Dennis. Say hi, Dennis.
Hello.
You can actually say more than that.
Well, I'm glad to be here again. I'm really honored to continue to be asked to be a guest on your shows, Robert. I really appreciate what you're doing and the help that you're giving our community through the efforts you've provided in these shows. And it's very glad to be here.
Well, you're welcome, and it's an honor. It truly is. And maybe one day I'll explain to you exactly why. And then Nevin Jefferson, is that right?
That's correct.
You know what? He handed me what almost looks like a you know, kind of a rough draft with a lot of things going on in his life. Oh my goodness, where to start? He is a writer for
Seattle Gay News.
Yep, that's it. I read that paper when I get a chance to. You're an activist.
Yes.
And an advocate.
Yes.
Very good. You deal with or do something with a singing group, karaoke group at the Vibe here in Kent.
Correct.
That's Kent, Washington. Let's see, what else? You do something, you volunteer with the Chicken Soup Brigade
for 14 years.
Oh my goodness. What do you do there?
Oh, I give out food in the warehouse, groceries and meals, and I talk to people, I help people while I'm there. I enjoy it.
And what do you do in Pierce County?
AIDS Foundation. For 12 years, I go out and public speak for them on their behalf, go out and educate people, tell them my story. And,
well, I would like to hear that story as well. We've heard Dennis's, and people still call. They still want to hear Dennis's story of his survival, and it's amazing. So maybe one day we'll do a hodgepodge show, you know, with the survivors and what they're doing. But you're also a deacon in your church.
I'm practicing to become I'm in a discernment process to become Episcopalian deacon. I have my discernment committee. Father Joe is behind me, Nettie Rivera is behind me, and a new deacon, Greg Nichols. I think I got his name wrong, but his first name was Greg, I think, or else I'm dead.
All right, all right. And then we have Dr. Jeff Shelton. And you want to say a few words to begin?
Yeah, I'm a assistant professor at the University of Washington and take care of people with HIV at the Hobby View's primary care clinic, the HIV clinic. And I also am a clinical investigator at the AIDS Clinical Trials Unit, our local research unit that's part of the National AIDS Clinical Trials Group that conducts multi-center clinical trials around HIV.
Man, how long have you been there doing that?
I've been there about 10 years now.
Wow. That's, you know, it's amazing. People, they just don't give up. And, you know, you're talking about 10 years, and you were talking about 14 years, and then it's talking about some years there. We've been doing this show for the last 10 years, going on 11. Okay. And, you know, like I'd said before, you know, before we got on today, that the number one subject matter that we have ever covered that has been absolute paramount, not just to us here, but also to our viewers and viewers around the world now, has been HIV and AIDS. And it's incredible. It's a sad subject, I guess, in a way, but a very powerful and very potent one on the other end of it. You know, so today we're going to be talking about that. So let's get into our roundtable today. But as we do, interesting timeline that I found when I was doing a little bit of study here. In a recent Time magazine article, it speaks about a new HIV and AIDS drug that went under 20 years of testing. You're probably familiar with it, V520. I don't know if you are or not. But according to what they said, this study was to see that if it would work preventing men and women from being infected with the HIV and AIDS virus. It failed in the study, the article states. Good talking point. Kind of interesting that it did, but I think that even with the clinical trial of it, the way that they had hoped that it would work, that there is somebody somewhere is on the right track. So that's important. Let me see here. The other note here. Oh, before I do forget, ladies and gentlemen, the program that you're watching is not of adult content at all, but educational, and we want to keep it that way so everybody is happy. All right. So let's talk about what's happening right now in the AIDS trials, clinical trials, and what's on the you know, looking back at what had happened back in the 80s versus today, sort of a before and after picture. How would you take a snapshot of both of those dates?
Well, I think things have changed radically. I think if we take a step back 2 decades ago and put it back in the mid-1980s, there were no drugs available. People were dying very quickly of opportunistic infections. And then along came AZT, which had some great promise, but turned out that it was only short-lived, its benefit. And we've learned subsequently that people need to be treated with multiple drugs. There was a fairly depressing period of time back in the late 80s, early 90s, when there were very few treatments available. And we got sequential drugs available, 3TC and DDI and D4T. And those were very small incremental benefits, but were not the breakthrough that we had in 1996 with combination antiretroviral therapy, and the Vancouver International AIDS Conference was a real seminal event, and I was at that meeting and remember what people went away from that with the first ray of hope after a decade and a half since the epidemic first appeared in 1981.
Well, looking back in the 80s, you know, I know that of course AZT alone has been sort of like the old boy on the school block, so to speak. But it's been around for a long time, and originally, from what I have understood about it, is that it was designed for cancer survivors to help people with cancer. Is that right?
It was originally developed as an anti-cancer drug. It never came to market for that purpose. One reason is it suppresses red blood cell production, and most chemotherapy drugs you use multiple agents that suppress red bone marrow production, so you get cumulative toxicities. But also, when it was initially developed for HIV/AIDS, you know, we don't always develop drugs for the lowest effective dose. We develop for maximally tolerated dose. So we use